Charla here from One Woman, and I'm here with the wonderful Nicole Moorey. How are you today, Nicole?
I'm great. Thanks, Charla.
So Nicole's one of our amazing One Woman Empowerment Academy facilitators, but you're so much more than that, Nicole. You're an amazing coach, an amazing mom, all these wonderful things. So tell our audience a little bit about you.
Absolutely. Well, living here in Northwestern Ontario, I just adore spending time outside with my family and loved ones. And whenever I can, I love to infuse nature into the women's empowerment coaching that I do. And in particular, I really love supporting women around their emotional needs. And so that's where the idea of fear less, love more came from.
Absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about that in terms of you're a female empowerment coach. So you work primarily with women and emotional needs, which is something that we often can neglect, I think, as women, because we're so busy serving others and helping others. We're moms, we're wives, we're employees or business owners, and we're juggling so many balls that I think lots of times we don't necessarily take the time to think about our own emotional needs, how we're doing, how we're feeling about things. So is that something that you find with your clients, and kind of what are some of the ways that you're helping to support women with that?
Absolutely. You nailed it right there. How so many of us give so much to other people, and we're the last ones that we think about. And we especially are not thinking about our emotional needs. The thing that usually grabs our attention is, when we're crashing emotionally, and so the kind of the symptom before then is we're just noticing that we're not doing that self-care for ourselves. We're just feeling off, not taking the time for ourselves. And so often that's where I start with women is, they're just having this craving to take a little bit better care of themselves because they, as you know, so many women do so much for so many other people. And so they just have a feeling, almost a realization that it's time, and it's the healthy thing to do, to start to put themselves first. And so, that can start with self-care, but inevitably it leads into the discussion around emotions and how we can healthily honor and even leverage our emotions, which in turn brings us to a better place in our life, in our work, with our self-care.
Absolutely. And I think that we forget that, it's hard to give from an empty cup, so to speak. And so how do we continue to make sure we fill our cup with self-care, with taking care of our emotional health, our physical health, our mental health, to make sure that we're better at everything that we do?
Yeah, and I love that cup analogy. I love the idea, if you think of the cup and saucer for your own well-being, you're wanting to nourish yourself, fill that cup. And it's from the overflow, it's what's in the saucer is how you can best serve the people that you love and pursue the passions that you're most interested in. And what you said there is perfect. When I think of self, I think of the whole self. So it's not just the emotions, it's the mental thoughts, it's the physical body, and even your spiritual self. And so taking care of all of these things, you'll be better off in the long run. And in this workshop, of course, we're talking all about the emotional part of ourselves and how we can support that.
Yes, and let's talk about that, because you offer a wonderful workshop through our Empowerment Academy, which is Fear Less and Love More, which really goes with all the One Woman theme as we do the Fearless Women's Summit, and what that means to fear less, because that's a natural emotion for all of us, is that, we have fears every single day, but how do we keep them at bay? How do we still do the things that we want to do despite our fears? Because we all have them. It's a natural feeling to have. So let's talk a little bit about kind of the workshop, what it's all about.
For sure. And that's precisely why I named it Fear Less and Love More, because all emotions are natural, or all feelings, they're neutral almost. Sometimes we get into the habit of thinking of them as positive or negative. It's more like what we do with those emotions that can get us into trouble. So this is what I'm addressing in the workshop. And when I talk about fear versus love, I'm also talking about like collectively the so-called negative emotions, so if you're not identifying with feeling afraid, you could be feeling guilty or sad or angry. So that's what I mean by the fear. And then love, of course, is the joy and acceptance and peace. And we really dig into this in the workshop. There's really three areas that we cover. So the first area, I'm walking you through how to effectively feel your emotions. I don't know about you, Charla, but I certainly never learned that growing up in school. You just kind of wing it, and you figure out what works and what doesn't. And so that's why I spend the bulk of the workshop really walking you through what that looks like. Because there is a process and it does work. And you can apply it to any emotion that you're feeling in the moment, but then you can also apply it to heal any of that emotional baggage that you might have been carrying around in the past. So there's a lot of juicy content helping you to do that, because I feel like even just learning that step, you're golden for a lifetime. But if you do want to take it a step deeper, the two other areas I touch on are how to handle your feelings when you're experiencing more of them at a time. So, you might be feeling sad and angry and happy and guilty all at the same time. So I do walk you through what order, essentially, to work through those emotions. And then the last part just briefly touches on how we have emotional seasons in our life, or emotional chapters. So anybody that's been through grief, for example, can identify that there are chapters in our life, seasons in our life that are, perhaps focused around that grief. But that doesn't mean your whole life has to carry that feeling of grief. So I do briefly get into how to walk through the different seasons of your emotional life as well.
Yeah, very, very important stuff. And I think also a great skill set that once you understand it for yourself, what a great thing to be able to also share with your children and your family, just for better relationships and communication overall. And because I think a lot of our emotions are what often can get in our way of sometimes those healthy relationships, when we don't know how to, what am I feeling, to pause, what am I feeling, how am I reacting to it, how is that affecting the things around us, all that kind of stuff, because these become, I would imagine, patterns and behaviors of how we deal with lots of different things in our lives.
Definitely. As a mom, I do try and role model for my children. But when we think of our own childhood, perhaps we've picked up our patterns either because our parents did do the same thing that we're doing, or because we're trying to do the opposite of what our parents used to do. So absolutely, it's a ripple effect. And that's probably the whole idea of personal growth, or one of the great assets, is that in strengthening yourself, you also inspire others to strengthen themselves.
Right. And my next question was going to be kind of who this workshop is good for, but really it's good for all of us to better understand kind of our emotions, how we react to things, and how they can benefit all areas of our lives, because those spill over to everything, our relationships, our business, our workplaces, everything, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's funny. I know, you're not supposed to say this works for everybody, but the fact is it does, because you all have experienced emotions. And so obviously, if you know for sure that you're struggling with feelings and what to do about them, or even you just have that sense that something's off for you, then definitely this will help you. But also, like myself, I practice this all the time. So even though I know all the ins and outs of how it works, as we know in the world today, life is a roller coaster. So there's going to be highs and lows. And so these are the foundational tools that you can use over and over again throughout your life in order to thrive.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, the last, couple of weeks, maybe more so than ever before, people's emotions are a massive roller coaster, from the fact that you have a little extra time to spend with family, which can be wonderful to the time where, you know, you're spending extra time with family, and that can be also stressful, you know, that everybody's confined, you know, people's work is affected, uncertainty as to how long this will last, all that kind of stuff. And I think that that's, you know, great tools to have to be able to, you know, understand our emotions more and how we can get through times like this, that, you know, because you never know what life is going to throw at you. And I don't think any of us anticipated, you know, this kind of a curveball to happen in our lives, or the lives of everybody in the world. You know, it's really been crazy. And that's the thing that we've really been focusing on, with One Woman, is getting the message out as to what kind of positive activities that we can do to be able to better ourselves, you know, and really being able to take that time to learn and reflect, that if you can't be out and about and in crowds and all that kind of stuff, nothing stops you from turning on your computer and learning some great new personal skills and professional skills to be able to help you better, that hopefully when all this is said and done, we're all the better for it. So maybe let's talk about kind of some of the things that, in spite of, you know, COVID-19 and the craziness that has happened, what are some things that you have done, Nicole, to be able to manage these crazy times?
Yeah, I'd love to share some very simple things. So the most straightforward is to go outside. Even if you don't consider yourself a nature woman, even sitting, you know, in the sunshine in a lawn chair, I find that not only, you know, it's been scientifically proven that being outside in nature, you know, there's so many health benefits. But in addition to that, it allows you to be present with your emotions and, you know, allow your feelings, whatever they may be. So the simplest thing you can do is simply walk out the door. And I do that all the time. You know, especially now, just to get out of the house and go for a walk and have a little space to myself, a little time to myself, you know, there's nothing like it. Another tip that I find quite interesting, I only just recently learned it in a book called Burnout. And it's the whole idea of the stress cycle. And so certainly I've read about this before. I understood it, but I've never heard it put in quite a succinct way. And so the idea, being stressful times, is that what happens is there's a stressful experience that happens. So there's our stressors. So for those listening, you know, whatever's going on in your household, for example, at your workplace, those would be the stressors. And then comes the experience of stress in your body. So in response to those stressors, your body changes. So there's the neurochemicals and all of the different systems in your body change. Whether, you know, if you think of yourself when you're angry, you know, you might become tense and your blood pressure goes up, and you have that physical experience of stress. So how we resolve this, we're usually pretty good at dealing with stressors. So in other words, you know, whether or not we resolve what's happened in the day, so maybe you've had a crazy day at home with your children, or a very stressful time where you work at the hospital, typically, however you deal with those things, you know, at the end of the day, you're getting some sleep, the day's over, and you start again the next day. But what I'm talking about here, the piece that we forget, is dealing with our body. Like, we've got all of the neurochemicals firing and our systems are ready to deal with the stress, but we fail to put them to bed, so to speak. And so the research has shown in as little as 20 seconds, if you can get your heartbeat going, then that helps to tell your body, send it the message that, you know, everything's okay. You can't simply mentally tell yourself this, like, calm down, everything's fine. You have to physically show your body that, you know, you're okay. And so, yes, you can deep breathe for 20 seconds, but ideally they say about 20 to 60 seconds of physical movement. So whatever that is for you, preferably that gets your heart rate up. But if you're not able to do that, you know, the deep breathing and meditating, a little dance party in your kitchen, whatever it is. And because our bodies speak in body language. So in
Mhm.
order to soothe our bodies and to complete that stress cycle so that you in fact are healthy the next day to deal with all the stressors all over again. I feel like that's a really good nugget to take away. And I do talk a little bit about that in the workshop in terms of physically feeling and then releasing, whether it's through your breath or tears or laughter, releasing that stress from your body.
Yeah, that's such an important tip because yeah, I didn't even know that, I just always think of like when you get all worked up, take some deep breaths and, and then you just kind of carry on, but not realizing that, your body needs some action in order to respond to all that. And I definitely learned a new tip today. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And how about some tips, Nicole, in terms of family and learning? Because most kids, well, all kids now aren't in school anymore. Everybody's trying to homeschool, but that can be tricky and can be difficult. And, being in a home environment, it's totally different for the kids. And, you actually have some experience with this in terms of your family and traveling, that you have intentionally done this with, taking your kids and traveling across Canada and all that wonderful stuff. And so what are some tips that you have for moms out there in terms of coping with, the family and the family at home and doing the homeschooling and keeping your kids occupied during this time?
Yes, I definitely have some tips and experience. But the first thing I want to say is like throw the guilt out the window. That's the last thing you need is to be putting extra stress and pressure on yourself. Only you are the one that is the expert about your own family. So, regardless of what I say or anybody else says, what is the right thing to do. And like you say, in my experience, my family got to travel across Canada for 5 months, all living in a small trailer. And because of that, they did leave school early, actually, right exactly around this time of year. And so I was faced with, the decision to try and homeschool or not. And in the end, we didn't really. There was just so much to learn on the road and experience. And my husband and I really put value on like quality family time and experiences together. And whereas, some of the things the kids learn in school, of course, that is important as well. But, at this point anyway, a couple of months of learning in a different way, it certainly didn't harm my kids. And they're actually looking forward to that opportunity again. And so, like, I guess that's how I handle it, is just to kind of go with the flow and, do what I know is good for my kids and follow what they themselves are interested. And it all works out in the end.
Yeah, and I think those are amazing tips and so true in terms of, we just talked about that. There's so many things that aren't even taught in schools that are really important life skills to have as well. And just those conversations and learning what your kids are interested in and researching and looking those kind of things up, and that learning can be different and that's okay, that we can learn all kinds of different things and things that's going to help us in our lives and just to get through these times. And different skill sets that families can learn together, which I think is really, really a great tip. So before we wrap up, Nicole, is there anything that that we haven't covered today about the workshop, about the work that you do, that you'd like to talk about?
Sure. Just as we've been talking, I've been thinking more about the workshop, and this concept that's always in the back of my mind is this whole idea of it's great to have the information about what to do. And believe me, in this workshop, so juicy, I give you so much information that then you can, take it at your own pace and, use it throughout the rest of your lifetime. But I really feel like the implementation is equally as important. So, doing something with the new tips that you learn. And so that's why it was important to me to incorporate worksheets, for example, into the workshop so that you're actually applying what I teach you to your real life situations. And the other piece is earlier you were mentioning this. It's not always just about focusing on the fear. So often it's the bad stuff that triggers us to get help. But as you'll learn in the workshop, it's equally, if not more important, to be motivated by the good stuff. And so in this workshop, you'll see, I'm trying to balance your focus, even more so almost onto, what is working for you? What do you love? What would you like more of in your life? And so that you're not always in the heavy doom and gloom, but more looking towards, well, what do you want and what does bring you joy? And I think that's a nice balance going forward for all of us to carry in our everyday life. Certainly healing the difficult emotions or the difficult stresses, but even more so, and I'm not saying ignoring the fears, like definitely healing them, but also not forgetting about the joy. So even I'm constantly trying to do this in my own life. Certainly I could be cleaning the house and trying to work on my business, but also trying to do those fun things with my kids, like getting the guitar out, because that's it's only gonna take me 20 minutes, but that's gonna bring me great joy.
Absolutely. Very, very important tips for sure. And what we're going to do is put up the links for Nicole's contact information, her website, link to the course if you're interested in signing up. We've put all of our empowerment courses on sale till the end of April to help everybody get through this crazy time and to be able to focus on just being able to empower yourself during this time, and that life may look different, but it doesn't have to be bad, that we can spend this time really focusing on the things that we're wanting to do that lots of times we just don't have time to do in the busy hustle bustle of crazy life. And it's forced us, I think, to slow down and really look at what's important and the things that we're wanting to have in our lives and put in our lives. And I think that a lot of the workshops that we have are really great tools to be able to do that. Any final thoughts that you want to leave with everyone today, Nicole, going forward during this crazy time?
Absolutely. I just want to give such thanks to you, Charla, and your amazing organizations, One Woman and One Girl. It's such a blessing to all of us in the world, really, and it's just my greatest honor to be a part of your organization. And I'm always cheering you on behind the scenes, and all of the women that you support to just do it and be the best that we all can be, one woman at a time.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you, Nicole. That's very, very kind of you. And as you know, I just love doing it, and anything that we can do to be able to help and support women achieve their goals and their dreams and what calls on their heart, that's what we love to do, is to be able to connect incredible women around the world to live the life of their dreams and to be able to, just be able to be amazing women making a difference in this world. And I just, I'm so honored to be able to have you as part of our One Woman Empowerment Academy, and also have spoke at past events and stuff like that. So I encourage everyone that if you get a chance to reach out and get to know Nicole better. Do you have a Facebook page as well, Nicole?
Yes, I do. It's probably Nicole Moorey Coaching.
Okay, so we'll also put that up as well and link it so that everybody can kind of stay connected with Nicole. She's a great person to know and learn more about all the stuff that she has coming up. And I want to thank everybody for watching today, and we'll try to do some more videos and updates with our great facilitators, with some of our speakers, and with some of our members, so that you can kind of get to know each other better, especially during this time where we're looking for more positive things to be able to incorporate into our lives. And I encourage everybody to just keep hanging in there, that this too shall pass. And so take care, everyone, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.